Okay, we are ready.
Welcome to the November 13th, 2024 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Sandy McKee and I'm the chair of C6. And apologies, I have a cold. I did not want to be absent from our elections, so I'm in isolation here. So, this meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Secretary Lydia Shrednick, Assistant District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brandon Burke, and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. As a reminder, New York State law requires all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Our ground rules: no one may speak until granted the floor. Please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. It is important that only one person speaks at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said. Please wait until you're in front of the microphone to speak. Brian, number him. We've heard feedback from attendees that our meetings are hard to hear at times. The chat function should be used to alert us of any technical difficulties you're having, or to state in writing what has already been stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and are not already registered by filling out a form, you can register to speak in the public session on Zoom by using the Q&A feature and posting your name, your affiliation, and what specific topic you wish to speak about. Or if you are here in person and want to speak in a public session, you need to fill out our public speaker form. And Brian's going to do it over here, which is near the sign-ins for the CP6 newsletter. This needs to be done by 7:15. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears in the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. Lydia will now take attendance.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, when your name is called, please say present. 1 second. Shed Abdul Saman. Tanya Arias.
Present.
Kyle Thane. Neil Barkley. Martin Barrett.
Present.
Elvie Barroso.
Present.
Jim Collins.
Here.
Jonathan Tirico.
Present.
Stuart Deser.
Present.
Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Maya Donahue. Robert Fairfan. Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Justin Goldberg.
Present.
Gloria Hayes.
Present.
Rabia Iqbal. Paige Judge.
Present.
Rubal Kakad.
Present.
John Keller.
Present.
Nadine Kalani. Katie Londa. Sandra Leptoff. David Levy.
Present.
David Lowenstein. Anton Molnar.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Alec Militic.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Absent.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Reshma Patel.
Present.
Stephen Perez. Miriam Ralph. Michael Ann Rowe. Roberto Ruiz Melendez.
Not here.
Lawrence Shayer.
Present.
Ann Seligman.
Here.
Sandra Sharon. Olivia Strednick, present. Mubin Siddiqui. Letty Simon. Susan Steinberg. Mark Thompson.
Not here.
Gabriel Churzo. James Vieira. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Sarah Whittington.
Not here.
Peter Zetti.
Present.
With 36 members present, we do have quorum.
The elected officials have sent their reports ahead of time. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CV6 website. The link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time and for your convenience can be found in the chat on Zoom or by going to our website's page for full board meetings. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP so that they can take questions from CV6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. If there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on our list. And if an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have time to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agencies representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. And I might pass this function over to Jesus, as he has a more specific list. Thank you.
All right. I've got it right here. Welcome, everyone. First on the list, we have Robin Forst. Robin, are you here with us?
I am. Hi, everybody. How are you? Now the cold weather. I have a couple of quick updates. I wanted to tell you about the launch of a new program using drones that was introduced actually today. The program is called the Drone as First Responder Program, which leverages the latest in, what are called aerial autonomous vehicle technology to help an emergency response. There are 5 police precincts where this has been launched, one of which is in Manhattan in the Central Park precinct. And what it allows first responders to do is the drones can get to the location of an incident very quickly and send back intelligence information and allow first responders to know a little bit better what they're going to find at the site. The flights are actually monitored by an NYPD officer who's a certified drone pilot. I didn't know that there was such a thing, by the FAA. And depending on how this goes, I think we can look to see more of this amazing technology, in use in more locations. In a happy piece of news, the mayor celebrated the welcoming of the LGBTQ plus community to march in the St. Patrick's Day parade. The Richmond County St. Patrick's Day Committee decided to allow LGBTQ plus groups to march in the borough's annual celebration, which is a big step. It had been resisted for a long time, so we're very happy to know that inclusion is on the menu in Staten Island. The other thing I wanted to mention is, as we celebrate the very sad anniversary of the tragedy of American Airlines Flight 87 in November of 2001. That was a flight that was on the way to the Dominican Republic and crashed not long after the 9/11 incident. And as a survivor of that incident, I always remember the second horrible event in that autumn. And the community of Belle Harbor is the location of the memorial that has been erected in memory of the airline staff members and passengers on that flight. So to remember them and mark that loss. And aside from that, I don't have any other updates to provide tonight. I'm trying to keep it brief, but if there are questions, of course, I'm happy to take them. And if there are no questions, that's good too. So thank you, Sandy and company.
There appears to be one question.
One question. Okay. Jesus.
Jester has the floor.
I may not have caught everything about the drones, but are there any regulations in place to prevent their use to unnecessarily, intrude on people's privacy?
You mean the police drones or?
The police drones, yes.
I don't know, what's in place. I, can offer to send you the announcement, about the program. It has a lot of information in it, actually. And, if you are looking for additional information, I can try to, secure that for you. I think the idea of it is less to be intrusive and more to provide a quick response to emergencies and also when it's a dangerous situation for first responders, the drone gives the first responders an image literally of what is going on at the location in advance of their arrival. I mean, we're talking about very short periods of time, but the drones can get to a location a lot quicker than a vehicle. So I think that that's, enhances the ability of first responders to know what they would be finding once they get to the site of an emergency. But I can send you the announcement. I can send it to Jesus and he can forward it to you if that's good with you.
If they're only used for an emergency, then,
Well-
it may not be an issue, but it would be good to know that there are rules that
No, I
Um,
understand that. I mean, this particular program is specifically for first response in emergencies. It's called the Drone as First Responder Program. And the idea is to reduce response times to emergencies and keep, keep us all safe, and including the first responders themselves.
Mayor's Community Affairs Unit.
Page has her.
Page CD600, page judge requests the floor. Page.
Ken here.
Page, can you unmute yourself?
She's muted.
Page, if you could unmute yourself, let's.
Okay, sorry, I thought
Ah.
I unmuted myself. I
Hi.
just wanted to point out that there were people that were killed on the ground
Yes.
in Bell Harbor on 11/12. I'm from Bell Harbor originally, so
Okay. So that
it
that
was a day.
resonates loudly with you.
Yes, and I knew the people that were killed.
I'm so sorry.
No, but just remember that it was not only the plane.
Yes, that's a very good point.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next speaker. I believe we see Assemblymember Harvey Epstein, whose name I may never think of the same way again.
The nomination is lethal.
Okay, so when my parents named me, you know. Okay, who here has had an SNL skit about them?
You won the lottery.
Last weekend was kind of crazy, but so folks who don't know me, my name is Mark. Assembly member, I represent this neighborhood in state government. I've done that
Good luck to you.
since 2018. State government, just remember, state government, we still have a state, we still have government. And so, I just, the last couple of weeks, I mean, it's been rough, a lot of election stuff, and people surprised by a lot of things that happened in our city, state, and country. I figured I'd come. For folks who know that, Prop 1 that was passed is now the law, which is the ERA in New York State. So I voted on that twice in the legislature to bring it to the voters, and it won overwhelmingly more than 28%. So I think it's really a testament to what people in New York think about protecting people, reproductive health, LGBT rights, transgender rights, and that's now within our state constitution. That's a real big change for us all. So it's the holidays, so we, Joanna from my team, thank you, Joanna, for all the work you do. We're here just to let folks know, if you know people in the community that around the holidays need food, we'll have vegan turkeys available for the vegans in the room, which is me. Other vegans too. We'll also have turkeys and chickens and pernilles for folks who are in need. If people do need help, it's in our newsletter. You should just reach out to our office. We're working with all elected officials, the Senator Gonzalez's office here as well. So we're just making sure that people who have need get that support over the holidays. We have another e-waste event, so because we can't, even though the environment's gonna go to shit in the next week. Yes, we're doing e-waste in Tompkins Square Park on the 24th. Because, you can still do what you can in the world, and you might as well continue to do what you can. There's been a lot of issues around Stuyvesant Square Park, if people know. We did a walkthrough 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, who was there? It was 2 weeks ago, right? We did the walkthrough in Stuyvesant Square Park 2 weeks
I'm
ago.
not sure we were invited to
You
that.
were there, someone from the board was there. Who was there? I don't know, someone from the board was there.
Oh, Neil was.
Oh, you were there.
Oh,
I couldn't remember, I knew someone from the board was there, you were invited, come on. And so we were really talking about the problems in the park, and we really brought all the agencies together to talk about how we can work on the issues, and we've seen some real changes in the park, and I know that Stuyvesant Park Neighborhood Association, we're really thankful we did, we'll do a follow-up meeting. When things like that happen, like we saw on 14th Street, when there's we bring all the city agencies and the elected officials and the community work together, we can actually affect some real change. And so, this is not going to be the only place that's gonna have issues in our neighborhood. This is something that we need to continue to work on. The governor signed the bill around more speed cameras. It was a real huge victory to fight for more speed cameras in the city. We've seen a lot more illegal driving, and so the idea of slowing traffic down is around street safety. I don't know if people saw last month, there were some anti-Semitic signs put up at Baruch, something like October 7th forever. There was another anti-Semitic event at Baruch College again today. So this is issues that are obviously I've met with the Hillel, the Jewish students there, and it's an issue that, obviously the world events, I don't know what the world's gonna look like in January, but the world events and the horrors that are happening in Gaza and the loss of Palestinian children, it doesn't mean that that people should label every Jewish student in every college, genocidal or terrorist, and that's what we've seen a lot on our community campuses, and, none of this behavior is excusable, and we just need to manage it, but we locally need to do the best we can to do that. There's been a lot of events recently about New York Eye, and New York people know that they're trying to landmark the building right on 14th Street, 2nd Avenue. Well, it's out of the community board, really, is adjacent to this neighborhood in our district, so we're trying to make sure that happens. On the Beth Israel front, I know the board continues to stay involved. The court case was an argument about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. The 31st, right?
31st.
So what day is today? I don't know. 2 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago. Just to argue to try to keep the hospital open. There's a lot of we can do to try to continue to fight for the hospital. I think there's an opening, even if this court case doesn't go our way, a lot of openings to ensure that at least the money from the hospital site is reinvested into hospital care in our community. Mount Sinai is now publicly committed to doing that, so that isn't the win we want. We want to keep a full service hospital open. But the money's smaller full service hospital, and those are the things we'll keep fighting for. And if there's any questions that people have for me, I'm happy to take them around city and state issues if the chair allows me to.
I'm isolated because I have
Okay.
She's stressed out.
Yeah.
But, I think Tanya, you should end up first.
Hi, hi, Harvey, welcome. As I was leaving, my house today, I heard that once again, congestion pricing might be coming, but this was against it. So in January, even if we again, what happens when the new administration comes in?
So there's a question about congestion pricing, tomorrow, people know this already, the governor's gonna announce he's gonna try to restart congestion pricing. So there's like a 40% reduction in the fees, so instead of $15 for on peak, it'll be $9. Instead of $3.75 for off peak, it'll be $2. And then there was an offset of $5 for folks who were taking, paying for a tunnel. Those $5 is gonna be reduced by 40% as well. The expectation that the governor has is because it was approved already, and all they need to do is flip the switch because the proposal that happened was in between $9 and $23. The $9 is within that range, so they don't need any further approval. I have no idea if that's gonna happen or not. I have no idea if it's gonna move forward. I know that there's gonna be lawsuits that'll be filed after the governor's announcement tomorrow. And I have no idea whether there'll be a stay of the implementation of congestion pricing and whether the stay will last past January 20th. So those are just all the unknowns, depending on what judge the multiple lawsuits are filed with, get before, and whether one of those judges decides to issue a stay. But people know, I've been clear about this, I believe in congestion pricing. Also have bill pushing for residential exemption because I believe that people shouldn't be charged just because they're going home. It's what London has, every major city that has congestion pricing has residential exemption. What we did in the law was only exempt people making $60,000 or less and people with disability permits. I've been pushing even this week when I spoke to the governor's office on that. They said if we did something like I wanted to, they'd have to go back to the federal government to get approval. But that means the things I'm trying to push for can't happen in this moment, but it doesn't mean we ever give up those struggles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question?
Hi, thank you. Harvey, I want to bring up a resolution that we're discussing tonight because you've always been a strong supporter of small businesses in our neighborhoods. We have an issue where there is a small business, a Hallmark store on 44th and 2nd.
Yeah.
That is being forced out, their lease is being broken in advance because a cannabis store is taking it over and paying significantly more in rent.
So they're agreeing to terminate their lease early?
Well, no, they don't want to, but they're being forced.
Well, they can't be forced because they have a lease. There's a lease event for a specific term unless there's some provision. in the
There's a
lease.
provision.
There's a provision, and the concern is, and we wrote a letter last December to you and all our electeds about how we as a community board were kept out of the OCM discussions
Yeah.
and lack of response even on the rules and how we approve, businesses coming.
Right.
And there's 1,000 feet, between two legal cannabis shops. We have one on 38th and 2nd, and then one on like 47th and 2nd that's legal already, so it's more than 1,000 feet.
It's within 1,000
No, it's
feet?
more.
Okay.
But the issue is still that if a cannabis shop is gonna be able to pay so much more than a small business,
Yeah.
we're not gonna have any other small businesses, 1,000 feet is not that much.
Right.
And in this situation, we have school that's 300 feet away, but it's not in the direct line.
So, Russ, when this came up last year, we worked on a bill to try to strengthen community input and
Yeah.
to strengthen it like we're trying to strengthen. Initially, when we wrote it was like this could mirror the SLA input the community board had.
Yeah.
And then OCM basically to my disdain was like ignoring any community comments, didn't keep track of any, anyone filed a comment, there was no reporting number, no file number, no way to track it, no response to the community board or to me. And so what we were working on was trying to amend that, where you ended up, that dropped out in the final stage of the budget negotiations, because we gave the mayor more authority to close, the focus ended up being last year, and giving the mayor more authority to close down the illegal stores. And now on this piece of it, we're gonna continue to try to push that for next year, because I really do think that community input's critical in this. And if the 1,000 feet isn't the distance that we want, I think a resolution, I don't know if that's what's on for tonight, to make it longer, the distance bigger, that's something I know the kind of stores that I've talked to would rather have more distance between shops instead of less distance.
Yeah, but it's competition for them. I mean, our resolution is just for this specific
Oh,
location,
okay.
but we're gonna do another resolution to talk about the general rules of it. And this comes from a concern of, we don't have that many small businesses anyway, especially after COVID, people couldn't survive. And we want to protect the ones that are still on.
I totally agree, and just to say about it, I have a commercial rent regulation bill for small business to keep them in our neighborhoods. That bill, I've had a hard time getting traction on that, because even just what we did last year on good cause for tenants was such a heavy lift. Try to protect the small businesses is something that I fundamentally believe in, that's why I introduced the bill. But it requires a whole organizing effort from all of us, and it's gonna take time.
Yeah, no, the state has storefronts, right? I mean, that's, we've been all advocating for that for a long time.
Yeah, the Save Our Storefronts Coalition's been great, and so there was a city council thing that almost got through, and, I think there's things that we can do on the state and city level to help our small businesses that we're not doing enough of, and I'm committed to it.
Okay, well, thank you.
We're behind you.
Let's pass it. Kevin, you still have a question, or is-
Mine was about congestion pricing as well, but December 29th, is that the target date I heard from the governor?
Well, she's gonna have to go through a review process, and litigation. It's hard to know what the MTA board is gonna vote on, but it has to be, that's the latest I think it could be, because once the target date's in effect and the MTA board votes, then it goes to the court. So who knows? I've encouraged them to do it as soon as possible, because it's either gonna happen or not. If I was a betting man, I would say that there's gonna be a lawsuit filed that's gonna get a stay past January 20th. As a betting person, I would say that. And if it gets past January 20th, and the flip hasn't been flipped yet, I think there's a real shot that the federal government will just shut it down. So, whether I'm right or not is like, no one has this crystal ball. Told me what was gonna happen last week, I wouldn't have predicted that either, so, I have no idea.
Marty, and then we'll work our way back.
Thank you for coming. You regularly come here, unlike many of your colleagues in state and city. Once upon a time, we would get a lot of the elected officials from this area to show up here in person and show their personality and who they are. You're one of the very few, and we really appreciate it.
I think Sandra, you have a question next. I don't really want to follow that comment.
I want to ask you about the good cause eviction.
Yeah.
Most of the people I know who I asked have never heard of it in this district, so, and I only knew about it through a student, which was surprising to me that there seems to be very little information out there about it, that it can be passed in April. So that's, part one, and how do we get better communication about that going? And the second part is, if I understood it, that buildings built before 1990 or something like that are not covered. There seems to be so many restrictions on what gets covered in it. But is it true that these older buildings, in fact, don't fall under this clause? Or is it?
So no, there's two restrictions on good cause, built after 2015, and they get a 30-year exemption. And the buildings that are owned by small property owners, the third exemption is rents, depending on the rent amount, like, is it 7,000 for a 1 bedroom, 9,000 for a 2 bedroom, and 10,000 for a 3? It's not that. No, it's not. It's sick, yeah, I don't know why I don't, someone can look it up, they can figure it out, but the rent's exemption. I mean, I put it in my newsletters, I know Senator Gonzalez has done that as well. The HCR has information on their website about it. I would love to figure out other ways to get the information out. I don't know if you have suggestions about what we can do more about it. If people feel like we could, we do town halls and meetings, but the people who end up coming to those things are the people who already know. So if there's other ways you think we should be doing it, I would be happy to try to get the information out more.
Susan?
I just thought it merits to mention that the US Supreme Court actually did something right for once. They refused to hear the 2 cases the landlords brought, trying to claim that rent regulation was a taking. So, rent regulated tenants can breathe a little easier tonight.
And for rent regulated tenants. And that's in a really bad Supreme Court. So the idea, even if there was more nominations over the next 4 years, likely it would be replacing a conservative judge with another conservative judge. So I think that's a really good point that's laws, it's been on the books for 80 years. The Supreme Court in the 1940s upheld it. And so, there's one thing there, stare decisis actually works for.
Chair?
Thank you, as everyone has said, for presence and impact. My simple articulation is, what is the next Masonic that digital that we should be anticipating, and others like that, and how should we think about that as a category?
So I think the next vulnerable site is the New York County here. I think that buildings, I would, what we've heard from Mount Sinai publicly and privately is that they're going to keep that facility open and try to bolster it, but I personally think that they have eyes on that property. It's a prime spot on 14th Street and 2nd Avenue. And so that's why we're trying to landmark the building. So whatever the board can continue to do to support that location, to keep the eye near there, or to get it out of Mount Sinai's hands, I think is the next vulnerable facility in our neighborhood. And if they win, the school of officials are going to put a 24-hour urgent care in. And so if that ends up happening with the urgent care, they might have more incentive to keep it open because they'll need the urgent care, but I'm not convinced that 2 years from now, they might not try to close that building too.
Do you have any more questions?
Well, thank you for all those questions, lovely questions. Good to see everyone. If I don't see you, have a lovely holiday. Are you guys having a holiday party this year?
Oh, we do it in January.
January, well, if I don't see you all, have a good Thanksgiving and a happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Next on the list, I see on Zoom, State Senator Kristen Gonzalez. Is she in fact here?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yes, I'm here. Appreciate the patience with not being able to be in person, but as you know, with a 3-borough district, just to be able to hop on, sometimes it's easier to do virtual, so I can make this time slot. But I just wanted to come and say hello. I think Assemblymember Epstein covered a lot of our updates this month, as far as the election goes, the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment, which we rallied around in Manhattan, along with the governor and attorney general earlier this month. Also flagging for folks, we have officially been reelected with 92,000 votes. So very excited to have the privilege of representing this district for a second term. As far as community events go, we had an e-waste event. I think, as Member Epstein mentioned, our rally to save New York Eye and Ear. We will be doing in partnership with his office and others, some Thanksgiving giveaways, as well as specifically in Strauss houses, a turkey giveaway coming up. And then we'll also have several office hours. So we had our office hours in Kips Bay yesterday, but we will have additional office hours coming up for anyone who is interested, both in Kips Bay again on December 10th, and then sooner than that in Stuytown on the 19th. So, if anyone would like to get more information, come meet us. Peyton from my team is currently in the room, so feel free to find her. We can get you a slot and make sure that we see you at either of those times. As far as other updates go, the Assembly member also covered congestion pricing. We're keeping a very close eye on what happens. I think I very much agree that this is something that's going to be litigated. But what I have certainly heard from this side of the district and want to continue engaging with is what exemptions could look like, knowing that we certainly need relief for the congestion we see, and from a climate perspective, certainly need to move towards investing in our public transit system, so that we are, you all are not breathing super polluted air, especially at peak hours. So we certainly want to see an outcome that would support both of those things. And then I guess finally, I'll keep it brief so that we can answer questions if anyone has. I think there are a lot of feelings about the election, and I, just wanted to provide an update. I think no matter where you fall in the political spectrum, it is going to be true that we'll have a new and different relationship to the federal government than we've had the previous 4 years. I know our governor has had conversations with Donald Trump himself to see how New York may foster, a relationship or a path forward. I think as state level electeds, it's going to be really important to be working at the state level to figure out how we are making up for any losses in federal funding, which may be imminent, and also how we're preparing New Yorkers for the next 4 years. And so our office has been very focused on what is a positive agenda for what we can get done in our state legislative session coming up in January to protect the rights of folks here, protect our immigrant communities, and of course also think about investments in protecting our disabled community and disability rights advocates and more. So, I know there has been a lot of talk of having a special session for the state legislature. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, but our office has been working with a lot of our colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly to think through what our January priorities should be. And what that looks like is a lot of funding for things that actually materially improve all of your lives. Public transit, having more affordable housing, having a way to combat the rise in the cost of living, and also to expand access to healthcare and more. And so these aren't new things. I think there just is an increase in urgency and an increase in organizing that needs to happen to get these done at the state level and really deliver things for all of you in our District 59, but also folks across New York State. So, those are the debates we're having. Happy to speak about what comes next for anyone who has any questions, but did want to speak a little bit to what this all means for us and how this affects or impacts our office's work. So with that, I'm going to pause and happy to take any questions from folks in the audience.
Any questions? Great. Well, yeah, it looks like we understand and have to keep working. That's what we'll have to do. But thank you very much. And happy holidays.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. We're moving on to Julio Rivas from Councilmember Rivera's office. Julio, are you here?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Julio. Do you have a report?
I don't have anything to add from Katie's internal report that she submitted, but I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Have a good night and a good holiday season.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Next on the list is Pat Hill from Councilmember Powers' office. Pat, are you here?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything to add on top of the report we submitted, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them.
for Councilmember Powers' office? There do not appear to be any. Thank you very much. Have a good night and happy holiday season. All right, next on the list, Tevin Williams from Congressman Goldman's office. Is Tevin here? I'm not sure I saw Tevin online. We'll come back to Tevin. Justin Flagg from Senator Krueger's office. Justin.
Hello, just two quick things. The question about good cause eviction came up. Senator Krueger just sent out a district-wide mailer with information about that, but I know a lot of CB6 is not in our district. So if you have some questions, it was pretty thorough, and there's definitely a lot of confusing details about who's covered and what it all means. You can find that on our website, krueger.nysenate.gov, or you can just call our office. We're happy to mail that out to anybody who wants it or direct you to the link. And just quickly, we have a series of events coming up on housing issues starting next Tuesday, November 19th. These are virtual events, one on how to get repairs, one on what to do if you're behind on your rent, one on appearing in housing court without a lawyer, and one specifically for co-op and condo owners with rights and resources for those folks. You can find details about those on our website, lizkrueger.com, or again, you can call our office for more info or to register, and happy to take questions.
There do not appear to be any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next we go to Sophie Secor from Assemblymember Forrest's office. Sophie?
Everyone, I won't add much more to what everyone else said, but I did want to flag, we are launching Youth Council in our office, and we would love for you guys to spread the word if you know any high school students that are looking to get more involved. I will drop the link to the application in the chat. It's also in our written report. But yeah, just encouraging our high schoolers, they could either live or just go to school in the district to apply. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sophie. Do you have any questions for Sophie or Assemblymember Forrest's office? We don't appear to. Thank you. All right, next we have in person Mackie Bentley, who is CB6's new rep from Congressmember Nadler's office.
Hi everyone, like it was said, my name is Mackie Bentley and I'm the new community liaison with Congressman Nadler's office. Just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. I will be coming here moving forward, so if you have any questions, concerns, in our office I can assist. Feel free to, stop me at the meeting, more than happy to talk. And briefly just wanted to talk about in light of last week's election. We have a sense of what the new administration is panning out to look like, and their goals and such. So with that in mind, with any federal casework or anything that our office could be of service of, we would recommend to get that sorted sooner rather than later. So if there's anything that you need assistance with in our office can be of service, feel free to reach out or again stop me and more than happy to help. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Congressman Nadler's office? There do not appear to be. Thank you very much.
Welcome. We wish him the best.
Thank you.
He's gonna need it.
All right, and it does look like the final elected official rep we have is, actually, no, we'll go back to Tevin. But we have Eric Cuello up next. Eric Cuello from the Borough President's office. Eric, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you, everyone. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to share two resources from our office. Our office has recently created a new senior resource guide. We're really proud of the work that went into it. It is 50 plus pages. It's comprehensive, and it's really designed to help our older adults and their families navigate many different services or programs available It goes across all 12 of Manhattan community districts, and you can find information about senior centers, health and nutrition support, transportation, housing, legal assistance, so much more. So I would ask folks to please check out our website. I also wanted to note, we have launched for the second year in a row, the application for our Manhattan Future Leaders Fellowship. It's designed specifically for high school seniors and juniors to develop their leadership skills, learn about New York City government, and work on some amazing stuff with our office. The application is available on our website, and the deadline to apply is December 1st. So please share far and wide if you may. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have any questions? It looks like we have one question for Eric, the Borough President's Office.
I believe we're down to 49 members. Is the Borough President going to appoint somebody so we can have our full complement of 50?
We're down to 48.
Or, excuse me, 48, so we need 2 more members.
Yes, you do. And thank you for the question. Yeah, so I believe that there's at least one of those is a council member nomination. So we're in conversation with the council member to fill that slot. And I know that we had a recent one that makes it 48. So we'll be looking at filling that seat as well. But thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for the Borough President's Office? There do not appear to be any. Okay, thank you, Eric. All right, and last call, Tevin Williams from Congressman Goldman's office. Going once, going twice. And that concludes the speakers list for elected officials and agencies.
And now, has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
They have. Okay, first. All right, first on the list, we have Erica Bach, who is a resident of Manhattan Community District 6, who wishes to speak on the proposed cannabis dispensary on the agenda, which is at 820 2nd Avenue. Ms. Bach, are you here? Okay, I don't see her online. I don't see any movement here in the room. We'll move on. Julie Friedman, a resident of Manhattan Community District 6, who also wishes to address the board on the same subject. Ms. Friedman, are you here? Yes, I believe Ms. Friedman is here.
I'm here, hi.
All right. Getting her up right now. Ms. Friedman, are you still with us?
She's muted. Are you able to hear me?
We are, yes.
Terrific, thank you, and I appreciate the offer. I am speaking tonight.
You have 3 minutes to make your remarks.
Yes.
Begin your remarks now.
I am speaking on tonight on behalf of the 29th Street Neighborhood Association in voicing our concerns against the cannabis retail dispensary license for Celis Walters doing business as Flintstone Cannabis at 820 2nd Avenue. And historically, the OCM fails to vet new dispensary licenses properly. And more than that, we know that the OCM licenses also violate their own procedures. This is where CB6 should be stepping in. We need CB6 to be the watchdog to protect our community. We can only hope that CB6 would be rigorous and champion the community and not outside vendors who just wish to do business here or buyers who which come into our neighborhoods with absolute disrespect. So what I'm asking is that CB6 stop and think about what we already have. We have Smiley's Exotic across the street on 30th Street on 2nd Avenue. They've taken illegally up 2 parking spots for their bistro table so that customers can go in, shop, and then smoke. That's 2 less cars that are able to park. Maybe it's handicapped, maybe it's accessible, it doesn't matter. But there's no one from CB6 who even bothers to look to see if they're obeying the law. And more than that, there's balloons outside that attract children. So the dispensaries that currently are on the table aren't even being monitored. They're not being held to any laws or standards. And CB6 does nothing. It is unconscionable that they put signage out, that they put out stickers on federal mailboxes. If any business, if any liquor license did this, CB6 would be actually finding them. But it feels like if it's a dispensary, they have free passes. So our concern for the neighborhood association is that the new one coming up at 822nd Avenue will also be given a free pass by CB6. We need you as volunteers to speak on our behalf, So thank you, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for your remarks. Next on the list is Tanmai Gad, a resident of another community district, but who wishes to speak to the board on a proposed introductory bill within the city council. Tanmai, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, you have 3 minutes to make your remarks. You may begin now.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanmai. I'm a public health professional. Firstly, thanks for giving me time to speak in this meeting. I would like to speak about a bill under consideration 0299 by the Committee on Small Business. This bill is sponsored by Council members Menon, Abreu, and few others. This proposed bill seeks to waive civil penalties for food service establishments, provided they work with not-for-profit organizations and donate their excess food. This bill does have limitations like on how many penalties can be waived in certain time period, which prevents establishments to keep screening relief from civil penalties through this avenue. So in 2022, approximately 20% of New York City residents were considered food insecure. Yet food service establishments in New York City discard nearly 300,000 tons of food each year, food that could make a difference for our community by feeding those in need. This is a major missed opportunity to support local food banks and not-for-profit organizations that could serve people who are in need. Every year, we are losing millions of pounds of food that could go to those who need it the most. Instead, it worsens the food insecurity problem, which ends up costing New York City with increased waste disposal costs and significantly adding to greenhouse gas emissions. So I would like to call support on community board members and elected officials to support this proposed bill 0299. And once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and for your time, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much for your remarks. We will now move on to David Reef. I don't see him online. Is he in the room? Okay, I don't see that he is. We'll move on to Jose Botana, who is a resident of not this district, but who wishes to speak about congestion pricing. Jose, are you here? I don't see any indication. And we now move to Michael May. Michael May, are you here? I saw that you were online earlier. Okay. All right, and then one last time, Eric Bach. Okay, that will conclude the speakers list for the public session.
The minutes from the October 9th full board meeting were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Sorry, Tanya.
It's a small objection to the minutes.
Okay.
It's actually very simple on the Assembly Member Epstein's section. The question that, are you aware that banks are reluctant to enter buildings that have been designated unsafe? You should also include and sworn.
Excellent. We need to vote on that to have it implemented, or we simply agree?
The board finds it fine, you can just by acclamation adopt it.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. The adopted revisions will be incorporated and the minutes from the October 9th full meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website. Chair's report. As we heard in the public session, there are some deep-seated concerns in our community that we need to address. I thought we might have more concerns from our community, but we certainly heard concerns at the previous meetings. The potential closure of long-standing local shops to replace with cannabis dispensaries that will pay a higher rent. And we've also heard of the lack of coordination among our city agencies that has resulted in damage to our public space. We will be discussing both of these issues further in our committees. This month I attended the city planning hearing where the proposed zoning changes for the Spark and Innovation East projects were presented. One of the speakers noted a way that housing could be added to the project in the future that we would like to investigate. We do have resolutions regarding both of these, but it is something that I really think is important that we look into. Apparently, I believe it's going to be voted on in December by city planning. There will be 3 planning fellows working with us this year. We submitted 4 proposals and 3 of them were accepted. I don't know how many planning fellows there are, but this is a huge plus for our district. They will be addressing the following: loading zones and street uses in our district, and they'll be working with Gabe on that. The future of the FDR Drive, maintaining and operating a 100-year-old urban highway at Manhattan's waterfront. They'll be working with Majed. And the design of 3rd Avenue, they'll be working with Grog. They're a huge resource for the board, and we look forward to seeing the results of their research. And it'll be probably in the spring, but they've already contacted us. They're eager to get started, which is great. Next month, Jesus and I will be attending several meetings, including an additional Spark Task Force meeting, a meeting regarding concerning issues at the administration of the Children's Services Center, and proposals for the Skyport Marina. We're also continuing to advocate for returning our waterfront spaces to public use. A long investment that we continue to work towards it. Our district manager's report. Jesus Perez will now give a report.
I'll keep it super brief because we've got a lot to get to tonight, but I do want to pull up the record a little bit on remarks that were said earlier. CB6 is well aware of some of the concerns regarding Smileys and some of the space that they're usurping. CB6 has reached out to OCM on multiple occasions, and we are trying our best to get them to enforce here. But sometimes with OCM, it is like shouting into a void. So we are well aware of the issue. It was raised to us at CB6 Business Affairs and Licensing Committee meetings, and we've been pursuing it. But I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Gabe Churzer, our treasurer, will now give a report.
Okay, according to the ONB, as of November 1st, the CB6 budget is $612,004. That includes street fair money. Encumbered funds are $10,190 and $262,981 are liquidated. Encumbered and liquidated funds break down as follows: $177,905 for rent, $81,876 for personal services, and $13,391 for other than personal services. Unencumbered funds total $338,831, of which $142,811 are street fair funds. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay. Marion Ruff, the chair of the elections committee, will now conduct the election for the board officers of CB6.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, the elections committee met on September 27th via Zoom and one more time since then, also on Zoom. The elections committee received personal assurances from each of the candidates that if elected, they will assume the role and responsibilities of such position. At the October 2024 full board meeting, no additional nominees were offered from the floor. The candidates are as follows. Chair, Sandra McKee. First Vice Chair, John Keller. Second Vice Chair, Rupal Kakad. Second Vice Chair, Gabe Turzo. Secretary, Justin Goldberg. Assistant Secretary, Jerry Weinstein. Assistant Secretary, Alec Militek. Treasurer, Lydia Shrednick. Assistant Treasurer, B. Disman. We have two contested races this year, the one for second vice chair of the board and the one for assistant secretary. The candidates for second vice chair and assistant secretary have opted to avail themselves of their opportunity to address the board as permitted by the CD6 bylaws. Each candidate shall make a statement not to exceed 3 minutes. Once 3 minutes have elapsed, a time will sound to indicate the time is up and that the candidate should conclude their statement. I ask the candidates to please be respectful of the board's time and this process by making sure not to go over time and to stop as soon as they hear the chime. And of course, be respectful to each other. First, Sandra McKee for chair. 3 minutes, Sandy.
I'm gonna be brief. Thank you for the opportunity to be the chair of the board this last year. We've done some great work supporting our community. I look forward to working with you next year and continuing to make CB6 a neighborhood we can be proud of. We still have our goals of developing affordable housing, reducing homelessness, and improving and expanding our parks and open space. Please feel free to contact me. We work best when we share our ideas and we work together. And please let me know if you would like a more active role in the board. We're always looking for people to step up and do that extra bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. Next is Gabe Turzo. And the reason why Gabe is going before Rupal is because we did a virtual flipping of the coin.
Okay, hello, thank you, everybody. You may be wondering why I'm running for second vice chair. Check it. What do you have? Sorry. You may be wondering why I'm running for second vice chair. That's a great question. I had no idea how much work went on behind the scenes here when I started. But now I have a better understanding of how all the pieces fit together and what I believe needs to happen for the board to run more effectively. I view the job of second vice chair as someone who will assist the chair in realizing her vision. This person has to prove that they're willing to do the nuts and bolts work of the board, taking minutes to Zoom calls, writing resolutions. They should be skilled at spreading goodwill and building compromise. And I believe I am that person. I'm a known quantity to most of the people in this room, although there are some of you I would like to get to know better. If you haven't served on a committee or a task force with me, you may be familiar with the work I did to help organize the chair's dinner this summer, for example. In my time on the board, I've been treasurer, vice chair of both transit and land use. I ran the ULURP approval for Spark and Innovation East, and the power of the gavel did not go to my head. I've been a contributor to the FDR task force and a board liaison to one of our research fellows last year who wrote a terrific report on improving strategies for the east side of Manhattan, although Susan, maybe we're rethinking that now. And I wrote 3 of the research proposals this year for our research, and 2 of which were accepted. So we're gonna have a lot of interesting work going on here behind the scenes. However, the second vice chair position isn't about what I've done. It's about creating an environment that makes it easier for you to accomplish your goals. One issue that impedes nearly every committee, whether it's street signs that don't get changed or FOIA requests that go to nowhere, is unresponsive city agencies. Our resolutions do not legally bind elected officials to act, but that does not mean they should be easy to ignore. For example, the board has been asking for increased park space and clean, accessible public restrooms for quite some time. These are not unreasonable things, and we have a right to concrete timelines and definitive answers. If elected, I will commit to doing the legwork of demanding accountability from agencies and elected officials to make sure your vision is implemented. That means systematically following up on unanswered resolutions and ignored budget requests, or not ignored, further study required. And coordinating with committee chairs and the board office when they feel that agencies aren't being forthcoming. Furthermore, as second vice chair, I will make myself available to all board members to find out what issues you care about and find out how the leadership team can continue to make your work more impactful. We're all here to make our community a better place to live. And I honor your commitment to making this the greatest part of the greatest city in the world. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Gabe. Google is next. That's gonna be hard to follow.
Well, I'm also running for the second vice chair. Feeling a little under the weather, so I figured I'd protect myself and everybody else as well. But, I cannot list the laundry list of accomplishments that Gabe has. I just started, I was just, appointed to the board a year ago. I was assistant secretary last year. It was an amazing experience. I loved it. I know that sounds crazy to some of you, but I absolutely loved every minute of it. I enjoyed being a part of this community board very much, and I want to continue doing more. I want to do everything I can to help make this board better. Part of the reason why I'm doing it because I want to make sure that everybody in this community, not just the wealthy, but people who don't have the means, also have access to opportunity, whether it's housing, healthcare, just any opportunities, whatever it is that they want. I want to help make it a better community for everybody. And I'm willing to just do whatever the board, the chair, and everybody else needs. I've recently been working on keeping track of what's going on with MSBI, so I've been attending weekly meetings. It's been amazing. After this, I actually just wanted to give that quick update on MSBI. But yeah, so I'm just doing it because I love what I've been doing, and I want to continue doing it. Thank you.
All right, next up. Jerry Weinstein for second vice chair.
I'm gonna head up there.
It's the script.
We're sorry about that.
Yes, the assistant secretary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right. Story. I haven't been immortalized by SNL, but like Harvey, guess my middle name. Okay, good. Statement and not filibuster, and we'll keep time for questions. Spring of 2022, I returned to my building on East 23rd Street after being evacuated 7 months earlier due to an anchor wall New York City's chief engineer had deemed at risk of collapse. At first opportunity, I decided to become involved in Community Board 6. Some of my qualifications. As a comms consultant, my mission has always been to help founders and CEOs build narratives, products, and cultures. Whatever platform, I'm committed to connecting ideas and people with audiences. True leadership is about trust and collaboration. I've acted as a thought partner to dozens of CEOs, including New York Times, IBM, Museum of Sex, and TED, as well as civic tech startup founders, including New York Veterans Alliance, Girls for Gender Equity. I currently serve on the board of Stonewall Community Development Corporation. Over COVID, I matriculated as a fellow in Coral Leadership New York. As a certified mediator, my practice has allowed me to focus on trust building and solutions, and also confronting conflict rather than getting away from it. Accomplishments, I was part of the team that stood up Civic Hall. As a facilitator for Racial Justice Brooklyn, I enabled difficult conversations, which we need more than ever, around racial justice in both living rooms and borough-wide. Goals, as far as this is concerned, I care deeply about institutional memory. This aligns with the ethos of CB6 and its amazing staff. As an officer, I want to work closely with leadership to facilitate equitable civic participation, which has been shown to spark innovation. Community Board 6 is its people. I am asking your vote to amplify our ongoing progress. And I have a little coda to add that's sort of an election riff, but not. Without being didactic, this moment, and to expand this, demands a return to shared truth and building trust across difference. One way we do that is institutional memory and to make our convenings accessible. I recognize that the role of Assistant Secretary is about fostering, creating an environment for leadership, and promoting civil discourse collaboration to advance solutions for community board six to do this. I'm excited to take the step with your support and invite any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
That's the list of people who asked to speak, but we want to open up the floor to any other candidates who would like to make a statement before we proceed to vote. Justin, come on up.
Thank you. Everyone, so I am running for the office of secretary, and I wanted to speak a little bit about the duties, which are not too complicated, basically recording meetings, minutes, also taking roll call. But as some of you might know, I'm very involved in tech, and I want to take this, at this position, use it as an opportunity to use AI and tech to really make our meetings as accessible to both the board and the community as well. And I also wanted to talk about how, this has been a pretty difficult moment for a lot of people in the community, and it's important to me that, I can help to foster more community participation, and really make our community more, a better place over the next year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Any other candidates wish to make a statement before we vote? All right. The electronic ballot has been emailed to everyone. I think there are 2 different ballots, so please make sure you click on the elections one. And I think it'll be pretty easy to figure out if you're on the wrong one. Those few CB6 members who are joining us online, please remember that state law requires your camera be on and that your name be visible if you wish to vote in this election. So if your camera is not on, please do not submit a ballot. For those members who are present, please use the digital ballot that you've been provided. The CB6 staff can provide you with a link if you do not have it. The ballot is very similar to the one you're accustomed to using for voting on resolutions. All you need to do is click on the link to open the ballot, select your name from the drop-down list, select your preferred candidate for each of the board officer positions, or if you choose to abstain for some. And we'll vote counts once voting has concluded. And if any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand and we will address your question.
Can we redo the election in November?
Yeah, the same one, yeah. I wish.
Don't we?
The meeting will now stand at ease for a few minutes while you submit your votes and we have a chance to tabulate them.
Okay, we're unmuted, yeah. Okay.
Right on.
Okay, for chair, we have 40 votes for Sandy and 0 people abstaining. For first vice chair, 38 for John Keller and 2 people abstaining. For second vice chair, we've got 7 for Rupal Kakad and 34 for Gabe Turso and 0 people abstaining. For treasurer, Livia has 41 votes.
So somebody voted while we were calling these votes.
It wasn't me.
Okay.
0 people abstaining.
That's who it was. So we start over. So now the total vote count is 41, not 40.
Let's do this.
Let's do it again.
All right. And now we've got 41 votes for Sandy. 0 people abstaining. John Keller gets 39, 2 abstentions. Second vice chair, Rupal has 7, Gabe Turso has 34, 0 abstentions. Treasurer, Livia has 41 and 0 abstentions. Assistant treasurer, B has 41, 0 abstentions. Secretary, Justin Gilbert, 39 and 2 abstentions. Assistant Secretary, Jerry, 32, Alec, 9, 0 abstentions. Congratulations to all of our new and returning officers. One last line. Pursuant to section 9.
Section is 4A.
Oh. Roman numbers. Pursuant to section 4A of the CD6 bylaws, all officers will begin their new terms on January 1st. Congrats.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Miriam, and the rest of the. We've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. A reminder that the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting apply. Members of the public, please note that during this section of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CD6 staff emailed the digital ballot to all members. Please click on the link in your email. Select your name from the drop-down list and then select your vote on each resolution presented. Do not submit until later in the meeting after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you have indicated all your votes on your ballot. You won't be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. And transportation, Jason Fromowitz, Chair.
Good evening. We have 2 resolutions for everybody tonight. The first is on a proposed truck loading zone on 47th Street at the corner of 2nd Avenue. This is to make way for a new grocery store that will be opening at that location. And we also have, I'll pause.
I believe Anne had her hand up first.
Hi, thanks. So first of all, I find that a surprising choice for a grocery store, just given that there's a Morton Williams like almost across the street, and the Amish Market on 45th Street, and another supermarket going in on Second Avenue where Cafe Olympia used to be. So like, that's all, but that's their business plan, not really our issue. What is though, is that the spot, if I'm understanding correctly, you're talking about the northwest corner of 47th and Second, where there's currently a large city bike station. And that's also a corner that is often really clogged as people make right turns there. So I have some concerns about that as a location for a loading zone, which loading zones typically, they are supposed to be this big, but they tend to sprawl beyond that a little bit.
So in regards to the city bike dock, the location of the city bike dock and the fire hydrant was subject to extensive discussion about this proposal. We adjusted the resolution and from their request to account for ensuring that it was outside of the space of the city bike and the dock and the fire hydrant, which left, I believe, about 6 feet of space for a loading zone. I can't speak to the issue on cars turning. I haven't observed that myself. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts or comments.
Stu, I think you had your hand up as well. If there's.
This may just be for education, but the off hours program, DOT's office program, doesn't actually obligate the store to do anything, right? They don't have to accept deliveries off hours and they can accept deliveries during the day, right?
Yes, that's right. But my understanding is that they, from their application, they will be participating in the off-hour program, but yeah, I would not assume that's exclusively that they'll only be
But participating in the program, they may not take deliveries at night at all. There's no obligation, right?
My read of their application was that they intended to accept deliveries in the evening hours as a part of being in the program, but I suppose there's no legal binding obligation for them to do so.
Okay, which is why it's a 24-hour zone.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Do we have other questions?
I actually have one additional thought to respond on the location. There really wasn't another feasible location. We talked quite a bit with the applicant about the specifics of why that corner. There's a reserved diplomat parking on Second Avenue, which would have been a more potential alternative location. And I believe there was some other conflict across the street. So it was really, we were pretty limited in terms of where this could possibly be placed. Given that they needed access to the curb at the storefront, and sort of the already busy area with a bunch of existing parking regulations.
Is it on the corner, northwest corner, you said? Look, it's entrance on Second Avenue?
Yeah, it's the loading zone is on 47th Street, and right before the corner, on the northwest corner.
How large is this parking, this loading zone?
I believe it's 6 feet, but we have
Just 6 feet?
specified for Rosa.
No, it's more than that.
Yeah. 6 feet is not a car. Yeah. Thank you.
No, it did not make sense, the resolution. Oh, okay, sorry, it did. 55 feet, 55 feet, 55.
55.
Marty?
That's substantial.
We're really setting precedent by
Yeah.
giving them their own parking spot. You know, every store on First, Second, Third Avenue all get deliveries. Granted, the double parking is a major problem that we've been having. And with the narrowing of the through lanes, bike lanes, etc., traffic is getting worse. So on one hand, giving them a spot is okay, but every store can now ask for them, and why would we want to say no to anybody else?
And I might just make a comment. I mean, we've talked about daylighting, so this, because it's right at the corner, will definitely affect daylighting that intersection. And I don't remember whether it's the post office or the MTA that quite often has a mobile van at that location. Is it the post office?
Yeah.
And I mean, they closed the post office that was across the street, so it is. I mean, one of our public facilities that would be displaced. Jason.
With regards to daylighting, that actually did come up in the meeting as well. Because this is a turn onto 47th Street, when you're talking about daylighting, you're generally talking about it from where the traffic is traveling towards. So this wouldn't really be an area of daylighting, given that it's after the turn. You would usually have the daylighting on the turns. Yeah.
If there's no further, oh, I'm sorry. Lauren?
Do we have a name for this grocery store?
We do not.
I don't even know who it is.
The unnamed tenant, they hadn't fully signed the lease yet, at the time of the application, so they didn't want to reveal the name until they had signed the lease.
Doesn't feel good to me.
And so Jason, do you know if they don't sign the lease, what happens? Does it still get implemented?
I suppose we would ask DOT to disregard the resolution, but in the absence of doing so, I do expect they probably just move forward.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah, I just noted in the resolution that it said approval or something to that effect, and I went back from my desk. But ordinarily when we do these, it's a no objection language. And I would suggest that the language of the resolution, not only this resolution, but a couple of others I know that cite no objection if we have no objection, rather than approval or recommendation, et cetera, et cetera.
So, would the committee like to comment on
No, there was no particular logic behind the choice of words.
Okay, so if there's no objection, we will proceed with the revised language and vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot.
Alright, while you are voting on that, I will talk about the next resolution we have.
I would note yeah.
Sorry, Jim.
I would note there's a couple of resolutions in the packet that are similar wording.
When they come up, please, Jim, if you could address it then. Thank you.
So the next resolution we have is recommendations for City Bike to improve cyclist safety education, and those include recommendations to do outreach to existing members, improve messaging for members when they sign up for City Bike or sign up to rent the bike for the first time, and they ask for them to utilize Lincoln NYC kiosks for public safety announcements and safety messaging.
And sorry. We're going forward.
So I don't disagree with the spirit of this, but it seems, honestly, the word that occurred to me is pablum. We've been talking a lot about sidewalk safety in the Public Safety Committee, and you know, our concern that education just doesn't, like, it's not impactful, and that it doesn't happen. So I don't disagree with having more education. Honestly, as a city bike, actually Lyft member, and I think that should probably be noted that it's branded as City Bike, but it's actually Lyft that kind of owns and runs it. The only time I hear from them is when my membership is being renewed. Like, they don't do anything in terms of education or member outreach. So, I think that, sure, we can ask them to do this. I think we should send this to many more organizations, many more elected. Because if what we think is that we need to educate cyclists, we need to get the word out a lot more than just City Bike. So, lift, flash.
Marty and then Justin.
Might you add in multiple languages? You know, where it says, you know, to give education, have it in multiple languages.
So I was part of the group earlier this summer that helped put this together. And we actually spent a lot of time on this, and one of our goals was that, you know, it kind of starts with education. A lot of people go on City Bike and they're just completely unaware of whether it's what type of what safety is, how it can lead to accidents. And I think even and that's where our Link NYC idea came, even just starting to help people understand and visualize and just see it on a board is a good way to starts a little bit of change. So I don't think we should, I think it's important to start somewhere.
And yes, I think we should add that this resolution was written by new members. I believe it was a group of 3 and was part of the mentoring program. So this was an idea they had and pulled it together and wrote it, and then it went to the transportation committee. What?
Thanks for it. I just want to comment on Marty's comment that if you have your app or your phone in other languages, City Bike does speak to you in other languages, and I'm in Spanish, they send me stuff in Spanish, so they do already do that for me.
If there's no objection, we will now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot.
Sandy, quick question. I believe Jim had made a remark about approval or supporting something in that first reso. I don't find that language at all in first reso. So.
It's not in the rest of it.
No.
All right, then it passes as written. And report?
Yes, just very brief report. Brock is leading a effort across community boards to propose a busway on 42nd Street, and we'll be talking about that in our meeting in December. And also coming up in December, DOT has promised us an update on street redesign for Third Avenue, which we are very excited to entertain. And thanks, everybody.
Youth and Education, John Dirty, Chair.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So we have one resolution for you all tonight. And with great thanks to Dave Levy and Livia Shrednick for preparing it in the first instance. The Sydney City offers discounted Metro cards for students, but there is a distance limitation. So students that live within 0.5 miles of their school do not have access to these discounted student Omni cards. And based on a great deal of neighborhood feedback, a number of electeds, this is disadvantaging a substantial population of students. So they put together this resolution. It passed our committee with unanimous support. Happy to discuss.
If there's no objection, we will now vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballot.
I do just want to flag, I think Jim has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Sorry, Sandy.
Sorry.
I
Yeah,
can't see.
I'm sorry. Are these discounted or are they free?
I believe I said discounted, but it allows for 4 free rides a day. I think it's in the reso. Let me pull it up.
When my sons were in school, they got free cards.
Yeah, it's 4 free rides a day. Thanks for clarifying, Jim.
Okay. And now, we have any idea what the budget impact is?
I personally, yeah, thanks, Andy.
Just to clarify.
If they're riding a bus, half the time they're not paying the fare anyway, so I mean, better than half.
Sorry, we have someone else speaking.
All right, pass the question.
You know, I just wanted to clarify, it was a wide expansion this year of the student MetroCard program from 3 rides a day, only 5 days a week during the school year, to 4 rides a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year in order to open the city to students. And it seemed inadvertent that the closest students were left out because the spirit of the program has changed. And so the elected officials have pursued this with the DOE and the MTA, which have both committed to reviewing this in the future. And we wanted to sign on with the electeds, in writing this resolution in supporting that effort.
All right, then, apologies, I don't know. It's not like it's. Yeah. So if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark if you can vote.
While you're doing that, just a very brief report, if that's all right. We had a very spirited discussion with Transportation Alternatives at our last committee meeting. I just wanted to flag for any that were present or interested that we're continuing the discussion with them, and we'll have more updates on that soon. And that's it.
Thank you. Business Affairs and Licensing, Anton Mullner, Chair.
Hi, I'd like to make a suggestion that we bundle A, B, and C. They're pretty straightforward requests for sidewalk or DOT seating. They provide all the necessary paperwork to do this in terms of the fact that they've been doing this as many years. And actually some community members did vouch for 2 of them, saying they're very good restaurants and they would like to see the sidewalk seating. I'd like to recommend that they look at in total 3. Second.
Okay, please go ahead with please go ahead and vote on those first 3, A, B, C.
The next one.
This is, sorry.
Meeting. There was a lot of community opposition to this, which we listened to. But even more so than that, we felt that the owners, the applicants were very disingenuous. There is no question that they told us some untruths. The fact is, they also were asked on 2 occasions, 2 separate meetings we had, to provide us, to show us an executed lease for this particular premises. We're still waiting. I personally spoke to the owners of the Hallmark store, and as far as they're concerned, they have an executed lease that takes them to 2029. And there is some dispute as to whether there is a carve out that the landlord can terminate the lease. It's in litigation right now. And for this, and for many of the reasons we see in the resolution, this is not appropriate. This cannabis place is not appropriate for this community. It would be a superstore. It is not good for the community. And taking away a business that's been there for, I believe, 35 years, to replace it with a cannabis dispensary, I believe is not in the best interest of this community.
Party.
I'm very much in favor of this. There's a few comments I'd like to make. There's the, whereas in regards to the lease, it says instead the applicant appears to have prevailed. The whereases need to be statement of fact, where it says appears, it kind of is
would be subjective, maybe eliminate appears or have some other word, but, that doesn't make it a statement of fact. The next, whereas many members of the community strongly expressed opposition, do we have a number? It says submitted petitions, so we know how many names are on the petition, so we can say 50 people signed the petition, blah, blah, blah. And then the one after that, again, it says many neighborhood residents called and wrote to CB6. We should have some idea as far as how many people did. Those would be statement of facts and not suggestion.
Comment section, so.
We have the numbers, we do have petitions. have names of people on the petition. We had about at least 12 or 15 people show up to the meeting objecting to.
We have everyone who wrote in, and even some who called in, we took them down and we have them, set aside so we can get the numbers. If that's a, formal amendment to this resolution, and we can put them in.
If we have the numbers, we can put that into the resolution, I would be in favor of that.
What about the word appears?
Which one are we talking about?
In 158. Instead, the applicant appears to have prevailed. Maybe rather, instead the applicant prevailed upon the landmark, just eliminate the appears, so then it's a statement of fact rather than a maybe or,
She said.
We'll work our way back soon,
The preamble, line 44 to 47. It seems like you're saying that the law doesn't actually provide any discretion to object on this basis, but we think the law should be different, so we're objecting.
No.
No, we're just making a statement of fact.
Well, even if the regulations distance requirements are so narrow that they're almost impossible for any applicant to run afoul of them, you're saying the applicant doesn't run afoul of these regulations, but we're objecting anyway.
I think we're saying that we don't think he's a good actor.
Sorry, and sorry to make a comment back.
The applicant twice appeared before the committee and made, from what we can tell, were factually inaccurate representations. And if somebody was coming to get a liquor license, we would object on basically on the basis that they are not being a good actor in the community. And so that's, I think those are the concerns you see represented. And many of the people who came were very concerned about the number of missions in proximity. And that also made it an inappropriate site.
And Stuart, are you recommending alternate language? Is that?
I'm thinking that should be struck. I mean,
Well, sorry, wait for that.
I'm sorry, I'm saying that where I should be struck because this is a strong resolution, otherwise. And here you're saying, well, we disagree with the law, so we're gonna object on this basis. And I'm only referring to this one paragraph.
Thank you, I understand that. The problem is that the Office of Cannabis Management has not been very direct in giving direction not only to our community board, but community boards around the city. And this issue of distancing from schools or public accommodation or houses of worship, we have been getting mixed signals from the OCM. We have through meetings with other district managers have brought this to the attention of OCM and have not received a satisfactory resolution. So perhaps to emphasize this, this should stay in as it is written.
I'm sorry, what line number is this?
44 to 47.
Yes, well, one of the reasons why the committee put that in there is because of the 36 or so cannabis applications that have come before this board, this particular one got an overwhelming deluge of negative feedback from the community. And there was confusion as to what the requirements for distance from a school, from a house of worship, was. It was clarified, but with those rules, this place did not run afoul of the distance requirements. However, the committee felt that given the overwhelming concern from the community, they decided to express the community's view that this is still an inappropriate location and decided to demonstrate that they are cognizant of what the law says. Should instead, what we have seen OCM doing lately is where a community says, this is too near a school, we don't want this. OCM will then say, well, the law says this. And so the community wanted to demonstrate to OCM that it is well aware of what the law says, it still feels that this is an inappropriate location.
I'll leave it at that. I think that there should be a separate resolution arguing that the law should be changed to the interpretation.
That's what she was trying.
Yeah, so we're working on that resolution.
Yeah.
Out of budget.
Yeah, we're trying to.
So, yeah, let's keep, Justin was next, I think.
Jim also requested the floor.
Can I make a comment? It's not a question.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so, I wanna paint like a really detailed picture of this. I walked in, this is, Thursday evening. I walked into the board, to the, CB6 office and there's 30 people in there. I've never seen more than one or two, local residents, 30 people in there. And, they were incredibly vociferous, like every single, somebody would say, I'm on the board of, did something really significant in this medical facility. And person after person voiced about how horrible this would be for the community, how terrible that idea was. There were people that email, a deluge of emails. I looked at some of the ages. There was like a 14-year-old girl that was basically like the email sounded like she was crying when she wrote it about how this would be terrible for the community. This is in a residential area. One thing I want to really get across is also pretty close to the UN. So it's in a situation where if, it'd be a representation to people that come from abroad. And as for the owner himself, it's a very shady situation. The owner came the first time and the partner came the next time. It was just really red flag after red flag. And legally, I think there might have been some inconsistencies. I'm not sure with executing the lease. And so I wanted to really paint an accurate picture. Thank you.
Okay, I think Jason and then Tom.
Jim also.
Okay, then we'll go to Jim.
I am opposed to the resolution, which is to say that I am in favor of I support the opening of a cannabis retailer at this location. I have a number of issues with the resolution as written. First off, the resolution cites that the name Flintstones is a clear reference to the well-known cartoon The Flintstones, and cites that as a concern about copyright and marketing to children. I think as it pertains to copyright, that's for the holders of the copyright to litigate, and as it pertains to marketing to children, The Flintstones was aired last new episode of The Flintstones was aired in 1966. So I think the risk of children being enticed by anything associated with The Flintstones is not an actual concern. I don't think anybody under the age of 21 would be familiar with The Flintstones at all. Further, the resolution cites the location as being appropriate given proximity to schools and the United Nations. And I feel that's an inappropriate objection, given that immediately next door to the proposed location is a deli fresh food center, which sells beer. 1 block north is a bar called Keats, which is a fully licensed bar, sell beer, alcohol, and liquor. And there are 2 liquor stores within 3 blocks in either direction, north and south on First Avenue. All of these are legal adult use products, and I believe the same standard as it pertains to the standards in the community should apply to both cannabis shops and bars, liquor stores, and other sellers of alcohol. And lastly, as it pertains to this being a residential neighborhood, I think that's a bad faith argument. This is Second Avenue, and 44th Street. That is not a residential neighborhood.
We actually live there.
Sure, certainly people live there, but that doesn't necessarily make it a residential neighborhood. Anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
I just want to say that, Flintstone products are still being sold in toy stores, as well as Flintstone themed food and various groceries, so we're not talking about,
And it's on 10 stations.
Jim as well.
I'm not even gonna respond to that. My comment is that for the purposes of the actual resolution, I don't think we need to put a number of people that have, come to voice their concerns. But I think perhaps the way we should word it is that there's a significant and uncharacteristic number of people in the community that have voiced their opposition to it. I don't think we actually need to put a number of the number of people that have come to us.
Gloria, I guess.
Okay, so we have a law against open container. But there is no law against smoking cannabis on the streets. And I think anyone who lives near one of these understands that people sit outside and create a little cafe outside, and that does affect other people in the neighborhood. I wouldn't even mind if they were inside, but then a certain element always arrives too. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying you cannot equate alcohol to cannabis. There's different laws attached to both those things. Thank you.
Jim had his hand up. Let's go to Jim.
That's this page.
Yeah, first of all, just a matter of housekeeping, the three resolutions immediately before this all have the recommends language, and it should be no object. Casamano, Greats Craft, and Novita all have the recommends language. The second issue is with respect to a comparison to liquor stores. Those liquor stores and liquor licenses that were given to the deli and the liquor shops would have been vetted separately, probably ages ago. So if there were objections to them then, they would have been addressed at that point. They shouldn't be included here. The third point I would make is I agree that it is a mistake for us to take up the issue of Hanna-Barbera's copyrights and the United Nations language. There's nothing in the law addressing the United Nations. So I just would leave the resolution as written with deletion of those 2 points. Otherwise, it's fine with me.
Actually, this issue of the United Nations and having conflict submissions close by was raised vociferously by the community. And we're reflecting that in the resolution.
Understood, but as I say, it's not in the law, and I think we weaken the resolution by putting that and the Hanna-Barbera copyrights in there. Yabba dabba do.
Excuse me.
Paige, go ahead.
Okay, to begin with, yes, it should be in there. I'm sorry, whoever said 50 years, 60 years ago or whatever with the Flintstones, it's still on television. There are other versions of it on television. I spoke to some 10-year-olds that knew what the Flintstones were. And there are children in that neighborhood. The neighborhood is residential now. I moved in this neighborhood when it wasn't. It was commercial. I can tell you that just around the corner, there are 4,000 people. I think they're all residents. It's to the city. right on 44th Street and 45th Street of the Beaux Arts. Whoever said it's not residential, ask them to walk around the neighborhood and learn what residential means. I'm sorry, I'm really, this store does not belong. He's gonna teach how to use cannabis. That's why he wants that store. Yet he couldn't tell us whether he was gonna allow the smoking in or out or what was going on. He was very, very deceitful. There was a third person involved in this who lives in Brooklyn, who has the license that they're grandfathering it over to New York. There's something very, very strange about this whole position that's going on.
Thank you, Paige. Kyle, sorry, you're in the back, so it's hard to see your name.
B also.
Yeah, so I'm in support of this resolution of objection. I just want to make 2 points. I think the first thing that we're kind of arguing about, but we're not really just saying expressly, is that we want to maintain the current business that is there. We want to make sure that it's protected. So we are trying to find the different avenues to make sure that it remains there. So I think that's the first thing we should keep in mind. The second thing is door to door. So this is not like diagonal through other buildings. It is less than 500 feet from the Lyceum Kennedy School. So that automatically should be a violation for that. So with that, I'd like to make a motion of no objection because I think we're just repeating the same arguments. Yes, Colin.
Objection.
Jamie, you had something you wanted to add?
No, I think he meant to say a resolution of objection.
Yeah, no, he wants to vote on the resolution as written.
B also.
B?
Yeah, so Carl said what I was gonna say, but let me just say to everyone, we've heard the community before, we've heard public comment, the community came out. I think it's appropriate to comment on the area, which includes the United Nations. I'm very supportive of this. I think we'll be dealing with many more issues like this, and we'll do a separate resolution to deal with the requirements of space. So I think we should move the question, which Kyle had said.
Second. Okay, all right. If there's no objection, we'll now please mark your ballots. Okay, F. Okay, E and F, sorry.
No, just E.
Just E.
I want to speak to them separately.
All right, E,
Okay.
please.
B, straightforward, no objection for new application, temporary retail permit on premises for Mazi Hospitality Group. We had no issues with that.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we didn't have the quorum. This is why we are asking from the floor.
All right. I'm not sure the process is any different. Can we go ahead and vote? Okay, great. If there's no objection, we'll now vote on this resolution. E.
This one, again, from the floor, because we didn't have this quorum. We are recommending resolution of objection for temporary on retail premises license for Fantasy, from Fantasy Barco LLC doing business as Harbor Lights, 2430, FDR Drive. They're actually not premises, they are a boat. And there have been issues with their business in the past. There have been arrests for selling liquor illegally. They weren't able to give us some very straight answers about what they're doing. And given this, again, disingenuous way they have been dealing with us, we felt that it was not in our best interest or the community's best interest to approve or not approve, say, recommend or not recommend a liquor license for them.
Okay, Jason.
I have a question. The resolution noted that the applicants were arrested for some liquor-related crimes. Were they charged with those? Were they convicted of those crimes? I think they are two different matters that impact the application.
Just, you know, we have turned down, liquor applications, for premises that had complaints made against them, not having legal, repercussions like having, been arrested. So this goes a little bit beyond just a community complaint. This goes to a legal issue. If there was enough evidence that these people had to be arrested or arrested because of liquor law violations, we didn't feel that, it would be in our best interest to recommend a liquor license for them.
Do we have any other questions? Great. If there's no objection, we will now vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballot. And Tom, do you have a report?
Yeah, real quick. The more and more illegal cannabis shops being closed, but the issue is, you know, whack a mole, so you get closed, more open up. I also note that, the deadline to remove, street sheds, DOT sheds, has passed. And I still see many in our community are still up on the street. And Jesus, I think, have we gotten reports of that?
We have not, but we should also remember that those that have applied to the new permit program who have the old sheds, they are allowed to keep their old sheds until 30 days after they get formal approval of their new program shed, or until there's a date in late November where regardless, they all have to come down.
Okay. November 30th. Thank you. Just following up on one of our resolutions, it's very heartening to see that we had a large turnout for the very first time that I've been on this committee, that practically all the seats were taken in the office, when we were discussing the cannabis, applicant for 22nd Avenue. And I want to answer a question, that was raised earlier by a community member about, what's the name of it? Yes, we know that. And, I believe we've reported that the issue is that we're not an enforcement agency for the Office of Transit Management. As much as I like to see Jesus in a nice uniform. Best we can do is report this to the appropriate authorities, and hopefully at one point in time, the sheriff will take action. I have no further, any questions?
Jim, your hand is still raised, I believe. Did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry, that's left over.
Land use and waterfront, I believe Dave Cherso is going to be doing the presentation this evening.
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, this is a resolution of no objection to an open air cafe and a renovated Pops at 43rd Avenue. That's 3rd Avenue between 33rd and 34th. I know what you're thinking. There's a park there. It is the not terribly welcoming. This is going to be a pretty substantial redesign and beautification, and we think it's going to add a real community asset. Friction points, the tenants in the past have not been great neighbors. They have occupied far more of the space than they are entitled to, and they were not terribly forthcoming about alleviating it in the past. However, it is a pretty substantial redesign, and it's something the community needs. 2, the redesign will make it much harder for them to actually occupy space they are not entitled to. And 3, DCP made it very clear that we would be able to decertify them after 3 years, should they not cooperate with the POPs regulation. So on balance, we decided that a resolution of no objection was appropriate. Any questions?
And can I ask one first, Gabe, do we know when this is going to be completed, if it does go ahead?
I don't think we have that information.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Perry?
I felt duped when I read it, because I had no idea that that was a public space. I go to the laundromat on 33rd, at least once a week. And every time I'm like, I wish I didn't have to go to the public space by Trader Joe's, and then I wish I had something closer. So I'm one of the people that's mentioned in the resolution that had no idea that that's actually not the restaurant's property. But I was confused reading the resolution because everything was like negative, 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 and then I didn't really know what I was voting on.
That's fair. We thought it would be inappropriate to leave out the applicant's history in that spot for a very similar thing. But if you've ever walked in that park, it's, the way it's designed now, it's sort of easy for the restaurant to take up the space. Because no one knows it's a park, you actually have to kind of walk around halfway down 33rd Street. The redesign will make it accessible from Third Avenue. There will be a kind of a ramp there, so the tables and chairs kind of won't be able to eat up space they're not entitled to. And there'll be a park.
So what am I voting on?
We were voting on, that's a good question. We were voting on a resolution of no objection so that the open air cafe will be allowed once the park is redesigned and beautified.
Thank you.
Great, if there's no objection, did someone have any other questions? Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballots.
I'll wait my report.
No report. The next is executive, Sandy McKee, Chair. This is the resolution amending the CD6 bylaws to clarify attendance policy with regard to excused absences. Are there any questions? Martin?
What's the reason for it?
Right now, it says that the chair finds the reason to be of merit for when someone is excused. There's no clear concept of what a reason of merit is, and we're asking each committee chair to be a judge without any direction, any guidance. It turns out that this is an issue throughout many community boards. I've heard about this at Borough Board as well. We have, I believe it's 9 separate committees, so we have 9 separate people judging absence is excused or with merit, and no guidance at all. Pardon?
I don't recall if it's in the current bylaws, but we used to list 4 or 5 or 6 items.
There are no listed items.
In 2008, I was in the hospital for 3 months, so I would have missed all the meetings, and so I could have been thrown out. Everybody here has obligations. Sometimes you're sick, sometimes there's a family, sometimes you're at a meeting of the community that you're here as their representative. We're all busy people. To say either you're here or you're absent is truly an obligation that should not, we're not indentured servants. We're here as volunteers because we want to do our best for the community. To say either you're here or you're not.
Marty, what about
simplistic?
Someone saying it's my birthday, I don't want to come to the board. Is that an absence? Is that merit? And should the chair have to decide that?
Then put in specific jury duty, military service, illness, civic duty, specific items that would represent somebody to be not here, but just to say you're here or you're not, it just doesn't work.
And Marty, this was discussed at exec, and I must say, I personally suggested that we do that, but the result of the vote at the committee was against it. So, let's do.
I say send it back to committee.
I'm looking at striking 63. I understand that if we strike this section, that means that if I plan my next 3 months around the schedule of committee meetings, and then 2 weeks before a meeting, this committee date is rescheduled, then I get an absence. That I'm marked as absent. I don't understand that.
Because, my understanding is that if it is rescheduled,
You're not called out.
you're not called out as, yeah,
Yeah, but you're striking that, aren't you?
No.
no.
It's deleted from the CD6 bylaws.
So the second,
From 30 to 35, you're striking that from the bylaws, so that was a provision that you want to take out.
I'm gonna pull it up.
I think I read that it stayed.
okay, if you look at line 30,
Yeah.
31, notwithstanding the provisions of section 6CI above, if for any reason a regular monthly meeting of the board is rescheduled to another date, a member who is unable to attend such rescheduled regular meeting shall be deemed excused from such meeting.
That's being struck.
No.
35 is being deleted.
30,
Oh, wait, sorry, 36 says it's deleted, sorry. Because it was understood that if the meeting is rescheduled, you are not considered absent.
but that's true under the current bylaws, but if we strike this paragraph, then it's no longer true.
And that was not the intention.
What is the?
I mean, I think you
What
should
is
be
the line?
striking it because it's in the bylaws, and I think people are reading it as
It's
it's taken out.
it's taken out.
What is the line?
It's line 35 is deleted from the bylaws. Well, I think it's deleted because we no longer have what is absent or excused.
I understand, but that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what.
What it's up is not what we want. I mean, that would be pretty unfair to say if this meeting is scheduled 3 days and rescheduled 3 days before the regular schedule. Now you're not excused, you're absent. That's not appropriate.
The issue is that there, in the bylaws, it makes a distinction between regularly scheduled meetings and then those meetings that are not regularly scheduled. And it's only the regularly scheduled meetings that can trigger the removal proceedings. If a meeting is rescheduled, it is no longer, by definition, regularly scheduled, so it no longer counts. So while it's not excused, it does not count against one who doesn't make it because it was scheduled.
Because there's another provision in the bylaws that covers that particular issue.
What is that provision?
The provision that says that the meeting must be regularly scheduled.
I'm not sure we can quote them.
And in fact, in this very reso, it's actually section 9A, the regular schedule, but the committee changed it to more clearly say regularly scheduled. So if this reso passes, that provision will be clearly marked in section 9A of the bylaws.
I'm just gonna move that this be returned to committee, to clarify, get the language right.
I just want to provide some clarity to this. I do second the idea to send it back to committee. When I was chair and we created another bylaws committee to modernize the bylaws, the reason why the specific examples of excused absences was removed was because it was too limiting. Within New World, there was a lot of new excuses with public health, with the way work schedules work now, things like that. That we had decided, or the committee, which was chaired by B, decided that to give the chair the ability would create greater flexibility to accommodate for people's lives. I think this particular resolution kind of goes back to way too limiting, in that there is no understanding of what's going on in people's lives and how schedules change at the last second and things like that, that could then cause someone for removal. So I think my suggestion would be that there should be a list of specific excuse examples, whether it be health or work or so on and so forth, and go from there, because if the onus on the chair is too much, which I don't think it should be, because I dealt with that as a chair and it was able to sort of decipher, but if there's an issue of why is that an excuse for one committee and not an excuse for another, I think we need to establish standards rather than getting rid of standards and just saying, just 3, regardless of reason, is a cause for removal. So that's just how I feel about that. So I am seconding the return.
On order,
Well, just. a second,
On
my
order,
question, and then
on
we'll-
order,
whether it gets
excuse me,
agenda.
on order,
Maya, go ahead,
on
please.
order. Article 13 of the current bylaws says that all of this discussion now is dilatory, especially given the hour. This is to be presented to the board and then voted on at the next meeting, not the current meeting. This is Article 13 of the current bylaws. So I don't know why we're.
The last meeting,
It was
June, not in this full. Let's, Maya, please go ahead.
Huh?
I am in favor of taking out the excuses in the sense that if we are a participating community board, we are talking to each other, and I think you can communicate with your chair of your committee or in the full board of why there is a reason, because I believe we talked about last month that there would be a review panel if the certain number of absences hit whatever too many as determined. And you can talk about that. I don't think, like, if you had a health problem, you were unable to come for several months, I do not think the people who sit on that board to determine if you stay or you will be removed from our community board would take you off because of that. I think people are understanding, and it would, on a weekly basis, that we have all these committee meetings, to make it easier for chairs to be like, okay, we're just gonna mark it as is, but you should still be communicative of what is going on and not just not show up and be like, well, I'm absent anyways. It is a responsibility on the community board member themselves and not just the chairs.
And just for a point of clarification, if someone is taken off the board, it is voted on by the entire board.
Point of order. A motion was made to send it back to committee and seconded, we should vote on it.
That's what we're going to do. I just wanted to have Maya's comment heard. Thank you. So we will now vote on whether this should be sent back to committee. We'll do it by roll call.
I'm sorry, articulate what it is. We're just voting to send it back.
Whether it goes back to the executive committee for more discussion.
Phrase it in a way that we understand it's positive or negative, so.
All right, please vote if this is to be sent back to committee, if that would be a positive vote. If you don't want it to go back to committee, that would be a negative vote. Okay.
Okay. When I call your name, please state whether you are in favor or opposed.
No. That's not what she said.
Okay. Majid Abdul Samad. Majid Abdul Samad. All right. Tanya Arias.
In favor.
Okay. Al
In favor.
All right. Neil Barkley.
Opposed.
Okay. Marty Barrett.
In favor.
Okay. Ellie Barroso.
In favor.
Okay. Jim Collins. Jim Collins.
Refer. Yeah, refer, yes.
In favor. John DeRico.
In favor.
All right, Stu Desser.
Favor.
Okay, Lee Disman.
Opposed?
Okay. Maya Donahue. Okay. Robert Farhan. Okay. Brian Friedman.
Opposed.
All right. Jason Fromowitz.
Opposed.
Okay. Eric Goldberg.
In favor.
Okay, Justin Goldberg.
Opposed.
Okay, Gloria Hage.
Opposed?
Okay. Rabia Iqbal. Rabia Iqbal. Case Judge.
In favor.
Okay, Rupal Cott,
Opposed.
okay, John Keller,
Opposed.
okay, Nadia Kalani. Nadia Kalani. All right, Kathy Landa, Katie Landa,
Not here.
not here. Sandra Leftoff, okay. David Levy,
Favor.
okay. David Lowenstein,
In favor.
Anton Waller, opposed. Sandra McKee,
Opposed.
thank you. Alex Motek,
Opposed.
thank you. Rich Mintz is not here. Kevin O'Keefe,
Opposed.
thank you. Rebecca Patel,
In favor.
thank you. Stephen Perez, thank you. Marion Ralph, thank you. Michael Enroe. Michael Enroe,
Opposed. Opposed.
okay, okay, got it, thank you. Larry Shire,
In favor.
Ann Sullivan,
In favor.
Sandra Sherrod. Thank you. Lydia Shrednick,
In favor.
thank you. Mubin Siddiqui. Okay, thank you. Lily Simon,
Opposed.
thank you. Judith Steinberg. Thank you. Mark Thompson is not here. Gabe Trudeau. Thank you. James Vera,
Opposed.
okay. Jerry Weinstein,
Opposed.
okay. Sarah Whittington is not here. Hader Zaidi,
In favor.
okay. There are 21 in favor and 20 opposed.
By the.
It goes back to committee.
So it's referred back.
Okay,
For the air table, put whatever you want, it will be stripped out later, so it won't matter.
okay. Budget affairs and budget and governmental affairs. Matt is not here. Stephen Prince is going to.
Because it's up for me, yeah, I didn't want to be the last person at a meeting like this. My first resolution. I'll keep it quick. So we have a resolution that is urging the state legislature to amend the state constitution in anticipation of the next redistricting process. So what we really want to see is a more independent IRC that produces good legislative maps. We were a victim of the last process, as you all know, where we have a cross-borough, Senate district. They tried to also make our assembly district cross-borough. So what we're asking for is just an independent IRC, more community input into that process, and making sure that there's a sort of recommended criteria that they're following in terms of how they assess how to draw the district boundaries.
Anne.
I thought this was a good reso. I'm curious, I saw there was one no vote. And I'm curious kind of who that was and what the thinking was about that, to understand both sides.
Jim? I think that's you.
That was me, and for reasons that I dictated in a memo I sent to the chairs. I just had I had problems with the language because I thought it was nebulous. I think that there were some elements there that were not addressed, like geographic, contiguousness in the, making of new districts. There were just a few shortcomings. I think the guys did an admirable effort, and I support generally the effort, but I don't think we're there yet with what needs to be written in that resolution.
Questions?
I'll send you I'll copy you on the email if you're curious.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. And you may now submit your ballot. Do you have a report for us? Do you have a report for us this evening? No. Okay, great. Public safety and sanitation, Stu Gasser.
No report, next month, we're going to continue our discussion about, bikes and scooters on sidewalks. We'll have, we think a couple of elected representatives there, a couple of organizations. So it'll be lively and people will be angry.
Okay, Aldi Burso, health and environment.
I would like to give the floor to Barack. He graciously conducted the meeting last.
Hey, thanks. I'll make it quick. We heard a presentation from NYU and their emergency department services. If you have something minor, you can do emergency telehealth there. They have opioid addiction services, social worker overview. So that was great. We heard from Public Health Solutions about getting kids to stop smoking, smoke-free NYC buildings. And we talked about how the city uses social media. Which social media do they put their announcements on? Now there's a fragmentation. Threads, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. How do we know how the city is notifying people? People are all over the place. And maybe partnering, another thing we're discussing is maybe partnering with another institution like community or something like that for some health benefits or study for the community.
Great, thank you. Sorry, a question that I can't, sorry, Jared.
Quickly, does the omnibus of smoking include vaping?
Yes, they did address vaping and the dangers of vaping and getting children, specifically targeting children because that's when people usually start.
Okay, parks, landmarks, cultural affairs. Yeah.
Good evening. So I'm sorry, Madam Chair, but I have to say, because I also confer with a couple of parents, the kids, they do know what the Flintstones are. I mean, Jason's research was really good. I thought the 1960s. So still my friend though. But you know, it's the most popular chewables elected on parents.com for parents. You know that it is. And then also it's number 8 on Amazon, most popular seller, and then number 9 as well. The chewables are really big. I'm sorry. Just need to put that in. You gotta do it for the kids. So, okay, so very quickly, we have park openings. Murphy Brothers is now open. Vincent Albano is also now open. We have our upcoming meeting, Jack and Berswood, which is on 16th Street between 3rd Avenue and Rutherford Place. They will come and talk about the need for tree. I guess like the guardrails around trees on 16th Street. We have also reached out, Brian has not gotten back to me, or we haven't heard, not you haven't gotten back to me, but we haven't heard from the Historic District Council to see if they're going to attend. Hopefully, the council helps communities preserve historic buildings and historic neighborhoods. And then also we're going to look into having the Washington Irving Prep. Would you like to say something?
Yes, it's HS. There's many schools in that particular building, but they're trying to get their interior lobby landmarked. This is something that Kyle worked with them. Kyle's still here, yeah. So they're still working on it, of course, because landmarking takes a long time, but I suggested that maybe they could come to the meeting when they're presenting.
Yeah, I think it would be great, so if we can, Brian will reach out and see what we can do. So that, I have no chair report, any questions, anything else? Vitamin?
Thank you, Nino.
Thanks.
Housing and homelessness, Rich is with us this evening, and there is no vice chair of that committee currently, so we'll see what happens at the meeting. Board members, if you have any old or new business to speak, oh, sorry, Marty. Please, in the back, yeah.
A few comments. The question that I asked the borough president's representative in regards to replacing members who've left. Every year, we lose between 5 and 10, some a couple times more than that, people. Over the years, I've asked borough presidents time and time again, you know, will you replace the members as they leave? And they said, oh, yeah, sure. And so at the end of the year, we wind up with 10 vacancies, which is really problematic for our committees having fewer people. When you're putting together the regulations that we want to put in for the cannabis stores, there's one in my neighborhood, which I only learned about from here when it was approved. It's called Etain on 242 East 58th Street. There's nothing that shows that it's a cannabis store. I had no idea that it was there. It was a medical dispensary for a few years. The front is very plain, you know, there's a plant, you know, it should be emblematic of what we would expect for cannabis stores to look like. Speaking of cannabis, a grocery store had opened up on the corner of 56th Street and First Avenue, and convenient, 56 Convenience, they call themselves. Right across the street from Morton Williams, down the block from Christini's, and you know, it was closed 3 months ago because of cannabis. So look out for 47th Street.
Yes, and I can see that 56 place from my bedroom window. I had no idea it was a cannabis dispensary illegal, because I used to go in there for coffee.
Like your story.
Okay, any other older new business? Okay, Olivia will now conduct the second. I'm sorry. Did I hear second roll call? We did the second roll call, and
Yes, we do have one person who submitted 2 ballots. I'll call you up, Michael, Ann, sorry, but I assume it's the later one that you want to count?
Thank you. Yes. Sorry about that. I had a question about that because it seems in the link, it seems to lose my votes as the browser is open. And I don't know if that's a browser thing, but
And they were different.
I'll need to look into.
So the later one you want to count.
Yes, please. I think so.
Okay, we'll delete the previous one.
Yeah, I think so. Geez, I hope so. Yeah, it should be the same anyway.
It's not, they're both different.
okay, while you're sorting that out, Olivia's going to do the roll call.
Members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you are unable to use the digital ballot, CB6 staff will ask you for your vote on each of tonight's resolutions. Majed Abdul-Samad. Tanya Arias.
Present.
Kyle Thane. Neil Barkley. Martin Barrett.
Present.
Elvie Barroso. Jim Collins.
I'm here.
Donovan DeRico.
Present.
Stuart Deser. Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Maya Donahue. Robert Fairfan. Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Fromowitz. Eric Goldberg. Justin Goldberg, Gloria Hayes, Rabia Iqbal, Paige Judge,
Present.
Rupal Kakad, John Keller, Nadeem Kalani, Katie Londa, Sandra Leptoff, David Levy, David Lowenstein,
Present.
Anton Mulner,
Present.
Sandra McKee,
Present.
Alec Militic,
Present.
Richard Mintz, Kevin O'Keefe,
Present.
Reshma Patel, Stephen Perez, Miriam Ralph, Michael Ann Rowe,
Present.
Okay, I'm sorry, Michael Ann, if you're not certain, do you want to call your vote out aloud now? Or do you just want to trust that it's the first one you want to delete?
Which one?
You cast two ballots and they're not the same. Do you want to call your vote out aloud now and we'll take that and delete the other two? Or do you want us to delete one or the other of the two that you've already cast?
Geez, now you've got me stumped. I don't know which one you have. I could simply, yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the ballot. The one that's filled out, completely filled out is the one. Because the other one wasn't all filled out, was it?
I believe it was. Okay, I'll take one
I don't
vote.
think so.
The best solution might just be to get her votes.
I don't think so. Yeah, if you want me to go and fill it out again, I can do it right now.
Okay, do it right now and we'll delete the other ones.
Let me go back. You're gonna put that in the chat? Let's see. Sorry, everybody. Is it there?
DMing you right now. There you go.
Let's take on the roll call.
Oh, okay.
Done.
Yes, go ahead.
Roberto Ruiz Melendez, Lawrence Shayer,
Present.
Anne Seligman, Sandra Sharon, Olivia Shrednick, present, Mubin Siddiqui, Letty Simon,
Present, and I'll give you my votes
Okay.
on all of the motions except the last. I'm in favor, and on the very last one, abstain.
Staying on the voting reform one and then in favor on everything else.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Susan Steinberg, Mark Thompson, Gabriel Churzo, James Vera, Jerry Weinstein, Sarah Whittington, Hader Zeddy,
So then this.
Moment. So am I filling out, so I'm not filling out 5A?
Just put,
For that one that got referred back to the committee, put whatever. Because you can't leave it blank.
Okay, so I'm not in,
Just put whatever, it'll be stripped out later for the moment.
okay. I kind of heard you. Okay.
I
sounds-
said,
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll remove the ones we submitted before. We got the one you just submitted. Okay, so resolution transportation 1A. It passes 26 in favor, 11 opposed, 4 abstentions. Transportation 1B passes unanimously with 41 votes. Youth and Education 2A passes unanimously with 41 votes. Bulk 3A passes unanimously with 41 votes. As does Bulk 3B unanimously 41 votes. As does Bulk 3C unanimously 41 votes. Bulk 3D passes with 32 in favor, 7 opposed, 2 abstentions. All right. Bulk 3E passes unanimously, 41 votes. Bulk 3F passes 34 in favor, 4 opposed, 3 abstentions. Land use 4A passes 39 votes in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. The executive committee vote, 1 was sent back to committee. Budget 6A passes 39 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. That's it.
Right, okay, so no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:40.